Going on, y'all? This is your man Shabir Aleem. What's happening? What's popping? Yeah, I can tell you, I'm having a few technical difficulties this morning. I'm trying to get my special guest plugged in here. I think I did something wrong, or I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It'll be the first time I'm having a guest. No shade on her. This is all over me. I'm trying to get this together. Uh, Maybe she'll be able to help me out and jump in at some point. But we gonna get the party started in a minute. That's what happens sometimes. I thought I was prepared for this. Just click on the invite But anywho, what's happening? This is your man Shabir Aleem, and welcome to another live episode of Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host. You know who I am. As always, Shabir Aleem. So, the intent this morning was to have author Doc B. Host Bring It to the Table. Somewhere along the line, I don't know what the heck it is that I did. It just, we tried to connect before. She had me as a guest on an invited guest on her show, and my schedule got tied up, and I couldn't get to it. Now here we are again. So I hope this doesn't, put me in a bad light with this sister, but definitely want to get this together so she can, come on and talk about her path, her path to recovery, some of the things and that she's faced in life, and her new show, Bring It to the Table. So I'm going right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, just keep moving forward today's, subject, and we're going to I hope that she's able to get in. Got to check my plan too. Maybe I'm just assuming that I was able to. It said I can bring participants in. I'm not really sure, what I did on that to bring the sister in. But sometimes stuff like that happens, Not really sure what happened, but kind of interrupted the flow for a minute because I was excited about this guest. Known her for some years, and I don't think I've seen her since like 2007, somewhere around in that. But we were able to connect on LinkedIn. So that's where her show is actually, the platform that she actually does a show on LinkedIn. So if you have an opportunity to check the sister out, author Doc B, bring it to the table. I think the show is every Thursday night at 8 p.m. But just check it out, on LinkedIn. Yeah, kind of took me in another direction this morning, but it's okay. That's sometimes what happens when you're doing things. Everything doesn't always materialize the way it's supposed to. But that's what life is about, man. Being able to move forward, in spite of some of the obstacles. And that's what we're talking about today. Obstacles to personal growth. Yeah. I often tell the guys that I work with in the prisons that, not just in the prison, but that's where I'm currently working. But I always tell them, hey, listen, the system is not in your way. You're in the way. You're in the way. The system does what the system does, right? That's the bottom line. So, when you're looking to change, you can't look outwards. You can't just rely upon, those so-called resources that we have available, because everybody's looking to get the same resources. Many of the resources are taken away because people tend to take advantage of those things. They abuse it. Therefore, all of us suffer. And we can't get those same resources. We can't rely upon the government to be the ones to, always, feed us. Feed, whether it's putting food on the table, whether it's putting money in the pocket so you can pay the bills, whether it's, some kind of social change. The expectation is unrealistic. That's not what the government is in place for. That's just a reality. Government is business. So you need to take care of your business. And that means taking care of you, putting yourself in alignment for opportunity. When things happen, you have to be ready for them. And a lot of times people aren't ready. A lot of times we're asking for things that we're not ready to receive. We're ill prepared. So you have to begin to see where you're in your way. You're in your way. Your thinking is what causes, the appearance of things being in the way, when all you have to really do is just take a look at, what are you thinking about? What are your actions behind what it is you desire to do? Are you scared to make that move? Fear is okay, but fear can be a motivating factor towards change. Yeah. You don't know, you're not sure. Certain people there, you've never been around this particular group of people. You used to being around these people, because you had that relationship, you knew the language, you understood everything, that was expected. And then when you enter into another venue, you don't know what's expected. Confidence lies within you. You have to be the one to say, hey, enough is enough. I'm tired of being in this position. Let me do something. Now, we don't have to be extreme as John Q was when his wife said, John, do something. John just took matters into his own hands. And although the outcome was his son, got the services that he needed, John still put himself in harm's way. John put himself in a position where, he broke the law. And the whole idea of living life is to avoid breaking the law, because the laws are in place for a reason. And although things don't work out the way we think they should work out, they don't go the way we think they should go, they go one way or another. So a lot of times the decisions we make, they're negative decisions, and they're the obstacles, they're the ones that keep us from being able to achieve what it is we need to achieve. And we do it to ourselves. So it's important to understand, how all of this plays out, in our lives. We've been faced with things before, and sometimes we're faced with the same things that we thought we had solutions to, and it still wasn't that way. So you always have to be open-minded. You always have to take in new ideas, new ways of doing things. Get away from certain people and get around other people who are making those things happen, because you have to learn. All of us started out, in the womb, and, you have to look at life that way in terms of what happens. That you have to crawl before you walk. You don't just hit the ground running in every situation, but you put yourself in alignment. You put yourself in a position. You prepare yourself to hit the ground running when the opportunity comes. But if you're sitting down just doing nothing because your thinking has told you something entirely different, then that's where your problem begins, and that's the barrier. Um, so today's topic is on personal growth, 4 obstacles to positive life change. The article is by Jim Taylor, PhD, and it's on the website Psychology Today, which, as you know now, is one of my favorite subscriptions to follow. So let's go to the article. Change is essential for your growth and development as a person. Without change, you are assured of staying just the way you are and doing things just the way you've always done them. For some people, that's a good thing. They're happy and fulfilled in their lives. But for many people, the current path they are on lacks meaning and satisfaction, and they feel stuck. They want to change, but can't seem to figure out how to change. The reality is that change is difficult. How difficult? Well, given the robustness of the self-help industry and the fact that no one has yet come up with a definitive path to change, the answer is extremely difficult. Add in the low success rates on everything from New Year's Eve resolutions, stopping smoking, and losing weight to improving self-esteem, feeling less anxious, and having better relationships, and the picture is not all that pretty. And I'm one who deals with depression and anxiety every day. So I had to learn how that played out in my life, understanding that anxiety and depression are mood disorders. They're mood disorders, right? So that means for me, there's a constant shift in mood. And if I'm not prepared when that shift comes, it can have me feeling very, I don't want to use the term unstable, but unbalanced. So I have to be aware of when my mood has shifted. And I have to do things to shift along with it. So it's like when you're driving, you're not just driving a straight road. Sometimes you have to go over bridges. Sometimes you have to go around turns. Sometimes you have stop signs, stop lights. You have all these things that happen along the way. You have other vehicles around you, so you have to go around them. You have to use your signal to go around them and change lanes. So that's what life is about. It's about sometimes you need to change lanes. Because when you're driving behind that person, on the highway that has a 65 mile an hour speed limit, and that person in front of you is doing 45, how long are you going to drive behind that person? When you have 3 other lanes as options. Even if you have 1 other lane as an option. How long are you going to drive behind that person that's doing 45? Right? Because we want to go to speed limit. Some of us want to go beyond the speed limit, but we want to go faster than what the pace is that we're following with the person at 45. If that makes sense. Right? So you change lanes. Same thing when you have to make decisions about things. Sometimes you have to change lanes. Change lanes and you can see the clear path. You can see the clear path. I was on the highway yesterday, and before I even got to the on-ramp, I saw the traffic was backed all the way up. It was backed all the way up. I was at one position for about 45 minutes. I get on at exit 76. It took me about 45 minutes to get to exit 70. Right? So I had to do something in that time. If I sat there and just focused on the traffic, preventing me from moving forward, I would have had a headache. I'd have been just like angry. I avoided that. And I avoided that by listening to music. Put some music on. I was going to be in that position until it cleared up. So I continued to drive along. I continued to listen to the music. I continued to focus on something else other than the barrier. So I was still moving forward. But that's hard to do. It's hard to do when it comes to making decisions about change because it's comfortable. There's no pain, there's no difficulty involved in it. You can just sit in it. And a lot of people today are stuck, as the article says. A lot of people today are stuck. They stay there. They're not dying physically. Therefore, they endure. And that's part of the resiliency of the human being. However, when it comes to the human being being satisfied with the life they're living, it becomes a problem. And it's even more of a problem when you connect with someone else. When you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife. When you have a business. When you have other people who you're responsible to. Everybody is moving forward and you're still in the same position. And that becomes depressing. So now you've gone from, this mood disorder of anxiety and depression, right? To entering into clinical depression because of a situation. So the situation has weighed down on you even more. And it's just one more layer. As this article was talking about, it's just another layer. It's just one more layer that builds that obstacle to be so big that you don't feel like you can overcome it and you stay there. Back to the article. Part of the problem is that the self-help industry has distorted our perception of change, leading many to believe that change should be easy and should happen quickly and with little effort. Of course, the caveat to this claim is that change will only occur, supposedly, if you buy the books or DVDs, attend the lectures or workshops, or invest time, energy, and of course, money in whatever snake oil that promises to help you change quickly and easily when nothing has worked before. By the way, anytime you see the words miracle, magic, easy, or fast, when it comes to change, make sure you still have your wallet. See, I do these shows for free. They're free. And I would never tell anyone that change is easy. I would never tell anyone that. Because it's not. It's not easy. And there's nothing that I'm going to say on this show today that is going to make you feel like you can walk away a changed person. I can spark that within you. I can facilitate a change in thinking. But it's you who has to take that information and use it towards your desired change. I don't think I have that kind of power. Nobody does. Nobody does. And that's the same way with taking medication, right, for anxiety and depression. I can take the medication. The medication will work. But I still have to do other things to keep that change going. To not have a reliance totally upon the medication. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. It's about, okay, so you use the medication and you use therapy. Right? And you can provide that therapy for yourself by watching shows such as this. Because you start learning about some things. You start seeing some things about yourself that you know you need to change. And life becomes a lot easier. Back to the article. Right? So why is change difficult? This post will offer one explanation. It is also the first of 3 posts that will examine the why, what, and how of positive life change. The goal of which is to shift life change from a seemingly impossible task to one that, if not a certainty, feels at least within your grasp. Right? And that's what I was just saying. There's a possibility there. So when you look at stages of change, you look at pre-contemplation. Right? You want to change. You want to do something different. But you don't know that it's you yet. You think it's everything outside of you. You think it's the trauma that you've experienced. You think it's those things that are in your way. You think it's those things, but you. So having new information and pondering that information and then looking around and seeing how there are other people making it happen. There are other people doing it. Why are you not doing it as well? They're not better than you. They're not different than you. Everybody has the ability, free will, to make decisions to do or not to do. You understand what I'm saying to you? You have to make that decision. I always use this analogy. 3 frogs sat on a log. One frog made the decision to jump. How many frogs are left on the log? And you get all these different answers. You get all this different. You get people's thinking exposed because we tend to think outside of the box. I mean, we tend to think inside of the box. We don't go outside of the box because that's where the fear exists. That's where the hesitancy, the complacency, the comfort of being in the box. That's where it takes you. You don't see the possibilities, right? So you get answers like, well, there's 2. But is that the answer? How many decisions have you made? Think about it. How many decisions have you made sitting on that log? You made the decision sitting on your sofa. You made the decision sitting on the side of the bed. Are you still sitting on the side of the bed? Are you still sitting on the sofa? You know why? Because you've only made the decision that you need to get up off your behind, but you haven't moved. So all 3 of the frogs are still sitting there. One just made the decision. He didn't jump. He didn't jump. He made a decision to jump. What kept him from jumping off of the log? We're going to go into that now. To the article, baggage. Like all of us, you bring good things into adulthood from your childhood. And as a human being, you probably also bring some not so good things. What is commonly called baggage. You know, Erykah Badu made the song Bag Lady. And she talked about that baggage. The nickel bag lady. Yeah. I forget all the other ones. Can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Bag lady, you gonna hurt your back carrying all those bags around. Right? Those are the lyrics. Excuse me, Erica, if I messed the song up, but it's a good analogy. Because we see people's baggage when we encounter them every day. We see everybody's but our own. This baggage causes you to think, feel, and behave based on who you were as a child, rather than the very different person you now are as an adult. And that's a hard pill to swallow for many of us. We have to shake off the boy. I use that analogy all the time. It's time to shake off the boy. You know, it's time to shake off the little girl. And you have to become an adult about things. Becoming an adult means you have to make different decisions. You have to make less selfish decisions, less self-centered decisions. You have to, you have to do some things different. A lot of things different. It's no more taking your toys and going home, and many still do that today. They get upset, they get mad about a particular thing because it's not going their way. That's that self-centeredness that's coming through. That's the self-centeredness coming through. So you get your toys, you can't play with my toys. No, I'm going home. I'm going to play by myself. That's what children do. Many still do that as adults. Can't continue to do that. So we still get toys. We get more expensive toys today. And some of us get so involved in that new toy that we forget about the other responsibilities and other things we have to do. Case in point, folks who use the games, the PlayStation, the things like that. No, even social media. Social media is new. And it's something that people get locked into and they forget about everything else going on around them because they delve so much into other people's lives, other people's conditions and problems and situations that it takes them away. It's like Calgon. I use a lot of analogies and stuff like that referring to different things, but I want you to be able to see what it is that I'm talking about. Because Calgon, you're supposed to put that in water and Calgon takes you away. I don't know where it takes you to, but it takes you away. Right? Some ice cream, chocolate ice cream, takes me away. It doesn't take me away. It takes that within me away. It allows me to focus on something else, the relaxation, the comfort of eating the chocolate ice cream. You're sitting, you cross your legs and you're eating and you feel like they're little kids, you're rocking your feet and stuff like that. Those kind of things you have to pay attention to about yourself as a human being. How you act when something good is at your disposal. When something good. And then what happens when somebody brings you vanilla ice cream? It's ice cream. It's good. It's not a preferred flavor. Do you enjoy it as much as the chocolate ice cream? Or do you start looking for Hershey's chocolate syrup or something like that, like I do? I look for some chocolate syrup to put on every damn thing. Just about every flavor of ice cream I've tried chocolate syrup. All of them haven't been good, but I've used it. You understand what I'm saying? So, most of this baggage, to the article, causes you to react to the world in an unproductive way that can sabotage your efforts to achieve positive life change. And we talked about self-sabotage in a previous episode. We do it to ourselves all the time and don't even see it. And when we're in that kind of space, when that's on our spirit, everything around us seems to be at risk for our bad behavior. Because we don't want to focus on what's really going on inside of us. So we beat up on everything and everybody around us. It's an avoidant behavior. It's a diversionary tactic that we use to avoid accountability. That's all you're doing. You don't want to take responsibility. You don't want to be held accountable for what it is that you're failing to do for yourself. Because it's easy to blame somebody else. So let's go to the next one. The next one is about habits. Because I think we're pretty clear on baggage. You just have to come to know what your baggage is. What do you carry? Look back to your childhood. Look back to what did or did not happen for you as a child. Because these things are still happening to you. We rubber band. That's the term, clinical term used. It's rubber banding. Right? And we do it, all the time. In this moment right here, I can be talking to you and I can hear myself saying a particular thing about childhood, and I begin to have some feelings about it. Because the lens is through the eyes of you as a child. Just in an adult life now. Just having to make different decisions. And some of us had difficult childhoods. But you're not a child anymore. When are you going to let that go? When are you going to move forward? And just realize and understand that it's part of life. Our parents didn't make the best decisions that we thought that they should make, but they made the best decisions for us based on their condition for our childhood. you find that out when you have your own children, how complicated parenting can be. Because it's not just the fact that you're taking care of another, it's the fact that you're not taking care of you, and you're struggling through you to take care of another. I'm not crying, my eyes keep sensitive subject. It really is. Anywho, so let's go to habits. When you experience thoughts, emotions, and behavior that are driven by your baggage with enough frequency, they become deeply ingrained habits that dictate how you act and react to the world. These habits are much like athletes who practice bad technique. This poor technique becomes wired into their muscle memory and comes out in competition. Similarly, when your baggage becomes ingrained as habits, they produce seemingly reflective responses, even when they are neither healthy or adaptive. The challenge is that, again, like athletes, once habits are ingrained, it is difficult to retrain them. It's like when staff I supervise, when they come from just treatment-based environments where there are not the constraints that you have when working in a prison, they often struggle. Because there's different things that you're responsible to adhere to in this particular environment. You have to deal with the culture, the prison culture. You have to deal with the street culture. You have to deal with, varied cultures when you're working in a prison and you're providing treatment. And if you've never worked in that environment, it's much different. I spent 15 years working in a therapeutic community environment where it's more contact. It's more dialogue between you and the individuals because it's a community. And as a staff person, you are a member of the community. Understanding that staff work on the community and the participants work in the community. So you have to establish that relationship, whereas you're a community member. Same thing we do, in life itself. You have to be a community member. And when you're not a community member, you find that the participants just go berserk. They do everything. They break all kinds of laws, all kinds of social norms, and all those things like that. So it's more of a touchy-feely kind of environment, right? Then you come into a prison environment where the touchy-feely is internal. It's you, your social interactions, your ability to engage others and facilitate change. But then the other part to it is, I came up, through the ranks, being mentored. There are not a lot of mentors today. It's not a lot of people reaching out and taking people up under their wing who don't have certain experiences and guiding them in a capacity, that they were. And that's how I function. I have a title, but then I look at all the things that I have to do in interacting with human beings, right? Understanding their condition, understanding where they came from, understanding, what they didn't receive in particular places. Writing styles and things of that nature. You have to look at the expectation of the environment. Every environment, it's not as structured, in adhering to best practices. Some people just provide services. You come in, you have the groups and you talk all the psychotherapy kind of stuff, and and that's the extent of what you do. You go write it down, but there's not a structure to write it. It's just write what happened, write what you saw. But there's a structure to documentation, right? The data portion has to be what the individual said, what the individual did, what they did not do, those kind of things like that. Not just redundantly documenting things, but, things, how they actually happened. And being less conversational and more focus on the clinical account of the interaction, because that's where your assessment portion comes in. You assess that interaction. What happened? And then you make a plan for how you're going to address that. But everybody didn't get that kind of guidance. A lot of people just went into positions of the role of counseling, and they just started talking to people. They just started trying to help. But help comes, with the structure, and you have to start looking at those things in that capacity. I'm still a little distracted, trying to see where I have some kind of indicator that I have a guest, and it's I don't know what I did. It's on me, that this didn't take place today. So when you're looking at habits, and that was, and one of the other things I learned too about ingrained habits, like working out. When you work out yourself at home, you look at things online, you get all these different graphs and everything to show you all the different things to do and the areas, the muscles, that those areas affect, the exercises affect that you're doing, and then you start going to the gym, and then you have people in the gym who want to tell you, nah, that's not the. If you do it like that, that's not developing the muscle this way. You can't. Some people want to do halfway pull down. Some people do full range of motion, and then you start learning that. Well, wait a minute. You're not developing the intended muscle. You're not developing the shoulders. You're developing the bicep, or you're developing your lats, whatever. You're not developing the right areas, and that's why you're shaped and you're formed in the way that you are. So you have to start learning technique in terms of form. You sit straight up, you back out, and you pull down, and you push out, and you feel the area that you're working. You don't just pull. You got to be flexing that area too. You're doing a curl, you got to focus on the bicep, and you pull based on what you're trying to build in the bicep. Some people doing things, developing a shoulder because they're not isolating the muscle, things of that nature. You learn those things over time, and you start seeing the outcome. But when you're complacent and you don't want to do it anybody else's way because you think your way is the right way, because you're seeing some results, because you're going to see results with bad form, you'll still see results. But if you want to build the muscles and develop the muscles accordingly, you have to have the right form to do that, right? So you can't come from the street into a corporate office, having this street swagger. You can say all day long, well, I am who I am. No, there's a proper place for everything. And most of the times when you see me, I laugh, joke, and kiki, but I've been, focusing on developing as a professional for so long that my focus is always, how I'm presenting myself. It's always been my focus. I'm my own brand. Daddy's Right Here is my brand. So as a professional, in that capacity, I still have to conduct myself in a particular manner. When it's flow time, when it's time for me to facilitate, I'm going all in. When I'm doing fatherhood classes, I'm going all in. We're going to talk. We're going to help you shake that boy off. We're going to help you be the man that you desire to be, that you were intended to be. So I'm going to hit nerves. I'm going to confront things. Because that's how change is going to happen. I'm going to hit nerves so you can get riled up and you can feel what it is that's being said, because that's what's being said about you from others. And that's part of the problem in this relationship between you and the child's mother, between you and your child. You need to change that. When I do workshops and lectures, I'm going all in. Still a professional, but I'm going all in because I need to make sure that I'm batting 500, because I need for people to leave that environment feeling like they've gotten what they needed to go give others what they need to move towards change. Right? But in the meantime, it's a matter of, I still have to change myself. I still have to understand the process of the change. I still have to see all those things that I'm doing. What bad habits do I have? It talked about, smoking, right? And I've gone in and out for years, with the smoking thing. Letting it get out of control, then getting it under control, then thinking I had it under control, and, wanting to stop and then not wanting to stop. I wanted to stop cigarettes, and I stopped cigarettes. I enjoy cigars. but having to get that under control, was important. Like I had to like look at things like, okay, you're smoking. What human being smokes? What are you doing? Why are you smoking? So it was a habit that I developed. I constantly work on reduction because I like cigars. I never really want to stop. I don't want to have it on my back. Where like I gotta get a cigar, I gotta get a cigar, and that's where I had come to. So I started using patches, and I started using some other thought processes to help me reduce the of smoking. But anything that you can think of that is that baggage that you carry around that's formulate that habit is something that you need to start looking at. You have a habit of interrupting people when they're talking. How do you feel when you're interrupted? How do you feel when somebody interrupts you? You do it, and why do you do it? What are you telling yourself in the moment when you're interrupting somebody? That you need to be heard by them? Is that a childhood experience that you're having right now? Nobody wants to listen to me? Is it? What is the real case here? And that's what you have to begin to look at. You can't continue to act this way, and it comes without consequences, because it comes with consequences. But in that moment, you want somebody to hear you because you don't feel like you're being heard, instead of walking away from the situation, or instead of confronting things differently. Listening to them, having some, communication skills, again, which is something that you need to work on. And how do you work on your communication skills? Emotions, which is the next one on the list. Negative emotions such as fear, anger, sadness, frustration, and hopelessness can act as a powerful deterrent to life change. For example, many people don't change out of the fear of failure. They might think, what if I can't change? I'll prove myself to be even more of a failure than I am now. Then they say, I've been this way for a long time and I'm getting by. So it's not worth the risk. These negative emotions become substantial barriers to change by being triggered whenever you feel uncomfortable, incompetence, or unsupported. And the only relief is to retreat back to the way you have been. And that's part of the recidivism issue, with individuals who are going back and forth to prison. They don't put themselves in alignment with what they're going to need when they come home. They continue to do the same exact thing. They go in looking for jobs. It doesn't happen quick enough. It's not the job they want. It's not enough money. It's easy to go back to doing what I was doing. I was bringing an X amount of dollars a day. Therefore, I was able to take care of this, and this. And a lot of times, things you're taking care of are not relevant, right, to a stable living. Not investing the money into something else. And I'm not condoning it at all. I'm simply saying that, you keep going in and out of prison. You keep going back to the street selling drugs. You keep seeing the outcome. You have your own evidence as to what that's going to look like for you in the future, right? Your future is right where you're sitting right now, in a cell. That's going to be the outcome. So to keep coming out and keep complaining about the same thing, none of that stuff is going to change. Your wages are not going to change unless you change your condition. That means preparing yourself for certifications, certain licensing opportunities, CDL, OSHA, barbering, open up your own barbershop. You have all this clientele that comes and buy drugs from you. How many of these clientele will come and get haircuts from you? Or buy what other product you may be selling? T-shirts. Food. You got a restaurant. You got these customers here. Use those same skills. Get yourself a food truck. There's so many other opportunities that are out there. Why are you not taking advantage? Because you don't think it'll last? Why? Because you're watching somebody else's failure? But what you don't see about that failure is that they tried it again. They tried it a different way. They came from this way. They came from that way. Athletes, they practice over and over and over again. The layup, the three-pointer, the dunk, the defense, the dribble. Those things are practice. They're practice. Running down court, catching the ball, dribbling the ball down court, maneuvering through, the other players, being able to lay it up or dish it off. Those things take practice. It takes practice. But when your feelings get involved, think about how many things that happen. And when you got emotional about it, which way the outcome really went. That wasn't where you wanted to go. But that's where the outcome ended up, simply because you got in your feelings about things. If you ask any person who's participated in sports, what do they tell you? First thing you want to do is get into the opponent's head. Get into the head. And we know that Muhammad Ali was a good one for that. Muhammad Ali was good for that. He'd irritate the hell out of you. Right? Keep saying things about you. Talk about your mother. Him and Joe Frazier went at it often. Right? Joe got pissed. Joe was pissed about the things that he was saying. But even in a fight, right? Even in a fight, you get all up in your feelings and you lose focus of the skills. You start fighting out of anger. You start fighting out of rage. That's the setup. How many fights have you seen where things transpired and people got them into the head? No doubt. There were many who had good outcomes. They knocked the person out, but they lost sight of the skills that they should have been using, and they put themselves in harm's way for punches they wouldn't typically get. Same thing with life. You get in your feelings because things are not happening as fast as you want or the way you want them to happen. You lose sight because you start getting frustrated. You start getting angry. And you go right back to where you were because it's comfortable there. And that's what it says here. Frustration, sadness, anger, fear, these negative emotions can act as powerful deterrents. Determined is what you want to do to change, but deterrence for change. You got to think clearly. You have to think clearly. You can't keep using the excuse that this is who I am, this is where I'm going to always be, no matter what. And then you keep finding yourself in the same circumstances over and over again. And then you wonder why. Environment, right? You create an environment that helps you best manage your baggage, your habits, your emotions. You surround yourself with people who are supportive of the way you are and make you feel comfortable and safe. You engage in activities that play to your strengths and help you either mask or mitigate those obstacles. Unfortunately, this environment reinforces who you are, even when you don't want to be who you are, and can cause you to continue down a path that interferes with your happiness and achievement of your goals. This environment may, at a minimum, not support change, and at worst, discourage change. And you find that in a lot of relationships, right? A lot of close and personal, intimate relationships fail because of this right here. You want somebody to just accept your stuff. You want to keep dishing out your stuff. And then you keep pushing and you keep pushing. You push that envelope to the edge until one day that person comes back at you, claps back. And then when they clap back, you're offended. Your feelings are hurt. You feel violated. You feel victimized. When it's you who all along has been victimizing that other person. It's been you all along. Because you don't know when to stop. Because you don't want to do anything different. because you want that other person's life to be just like yours. When you have a relationship where one person is ever changing, one person is always working on themselves, and you're not doing the same thing, you begin to feel like you're not needed anymore, because they don't accept the stuff anymore, and they may do it silently. They may do it silently, but they just don't accept it anymore, and they speak to you about it differently. They begin to address you differently, and you wonder why. And you still blame. You don't ask yourself, what can I do different? What should I do different? You don't ask them, what should you do different? Because asking them means you have to hear the truth from them. And it doesn't sound like the truth from you, because that's not who you intended to be. That's not who you desire to be. And you say things like, well, that wasn't my intention. I was just saying. Well, consciously or unconsciously, it doesn't make a difference. Because you're not aware of yourself. That has nothing to do with me. That's you. You choose to be unaware. You choose to be unconscious. You choose to be unconscious. But you know it. You heard it before. You've seen it before. You just want me to shut up. You just want me to be quiet and let you continue to be who it is that you're being. Let you continue to do what it is that you're doing. That's what you want. And when you find yourself in that situation where people just take your shenanigans, you're comfortable. You're happy there because you don't want nobody to bother you. And that's why your last relationship failed. Because they didn't just accept your stuff. Because their emotional intelligence was on point. They called it just as they saw it. And you didn't like that. And you don't like that. I know who I am. I know that I can come out of my mouth and say something crass. I know that I can be in the space and I'm in that space and I don't want to be bothered from that space. I know that. And after I react because I'm in that space and I know that I've done that, I have to go and apologize for that. I have to go and apologize for that. Because I know me. I know at that moment I was in this space. I wanted to be in that space. I wanted to be where I was. I was focused on whatever it is that I was doing. I was processing whatever it was that I was processing. And you entered into that space at that time. And I probably didn't handle it very well. But you have to immediately apologize for those things. If you want success in a relationship with other people, you have to start looking at you. Stop being a victim. You're not a damn victim. Because at some point you become a volunteer. You start volunteering for the conflict. You start volunteering for the difficulty. Because you choose to be in the space that you are and you want the other person to do it and they're just not having it. So you volunteer the loss of a good relationship. You sacrifice it. You sacrifice any and everything good for you because you want to stay where you are. And you watch it slipping through your fingers. You sit there and watch it slipping through your fingers. And it's not usually until after the fact that you acknowledge that you could have done something different. But you're still like that frog sitting on the log that made a decision that they needed to change. Made a decision. It's all you did. You did nothing behind it. Everybody has to work on themselves in a relationship. I can't invest all of my energy into working on you. I can't spend my time in a relationship constantly addressing things that you need to change, and you see that you're not having a good outcome. You see that it keeps resurfacing. You see the impact that it has upon you, but you can continue to do it. People call that narcissism. Everything is not narcissistic. Everything is not narcissistic. Some people just are not there. They're just not ready. And the ultimate end is you part ways. And it's not easy. That's another change. But it's going to change. And you're going to have to accept it if you don't do anything different. So the environment that you're in, if it feels safe, if it feels unimpeded, when it comes to your behavior, that's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be. If it goes unchallenged, it's not a good place to be. Because none of us are perfect. And I always have guys, come into treatment. I ain't got no problems. I'm good. But look at how you're reacting now. Look, I'm good. So why are you reacting that way? Because, you telling me what I got to do. I'm a man. I know what I got to do. Well, tell me what you have to do. Articulate it for me so I can put it in the notes and say, well, you've changed your thinking. You have a good plan this time. Articulate it for me. And most of them say, well, hey, listen, I'm stay away from the boys. I'm, go get me a job and I'm going to spend time with my family. But you had that plan before. Your family was there before. You had a job before. Matter of fact, you had your own business. So how did you end up here? If you don't have anything to work on? Well, it was a mistake. No, a mistake is a black sock and a navy blue sock. That's a mistake. See, this is what I mean about the comfort. This is what I mean about the comfort. We use things like that. We say, well, I made a mistake. Did you make a mistake? The mistake that happened, that instance, that incident, that circumstance was already developing because of your thinking. So apparently you thought you could get away with it. Apparently you were comfortable doing it. Apparently you're comfortable doing it because this is not your first rodeo. So you have to look at all of those things. So when I hear a person say I don't have any problems, when I see a person who, just stays the way they are, who doesn't address their issues, right? That's the problem. So you have to begin to see where you're in your own way. Where your way is not always the right way. It's not. Listen, my way is not always the right way. Truth be told, my way is not the way. It's my way. This is just some of the things that I do. That's talked about in the article that I have to look at about myself if I'm going to continue to grow. I don't want to grow old and be the same person I was, a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was 5, when I was 10. I don't want to be that same person. I don't want to drag that baggage with me through my life. It's already there. But I don't have to carry it around like it's a trash can. I have to use it. I have strengths and weaknesses. My trauma, my childhood trauma is my baggage. I lighten the load by confronting those things that still show up in my life today as an adult. It's there. The residue of what happened is going to always be there. But it doesn't have to shape my life today. And I'll still be that child. The last thing, in all 4 cases, which we talked about environment, we talked about baggage, we talked about emotions, we talked about habits, right? In all 4 cases, when you allow these obstacles to control your life, they have the effect of sabotaging your efforts at changing your life in a positive way. Even worse, you feel stuck, frustrated, and helpless to change your lot in life. That's why you feel the way you do. It's not because of previously failed relationships. It's not because your childhood was that hard. When you separate the things that you carry around that really have more to do with your total self-centeredness and selfishness, you remove those things, then you can see the other things. It's selfish of me to think that my mother should have bought me designer clothes, brand name things. It's selfish of me to think that my mother should have took me here and took me there, did this and did that way, did it this way, didn't yell at me because of bad things I did, and so on and so forth. That's just selfish. That's just self-centered of me. When she had to maintain a job and maintain us as children and maintain some level of sanity for her own self, having to do it for herself. How selfish of me to think that, that she should have been doing all these things to me when I ate. I was clothed. I had a warm home in the wintertime. I had a cool home in the summertime. I did go places. She did take us out. She did do things with us. Get past the selfish aspect of yourself, the totally self-centered aspect of yourself, and then start looking at your life. Stop looking at the failed relationships that you had in the past. Why did they fail? Was it because they were the other person was a bad person? They were just no good? Or was it just that you were attracted to those kind of people? Maybe you're still attracted to those kind of people, still find yourself in the same situation because you haven't recognized why you attract those people, why you're attracted to those people. What is it about your attitude? Haven't you got comfortable with the idea of doing it this way? Because you can have the best of a person with you and still be locked into an old way of doing and those old habits, hanging on to that old baggage, and you still bring it right back into the same good relationship, and you lose that one too. Then you say there's no good men out there. There's no good women out there. You made the selection. You saw the signs. You turned a blind eye to those things because of selfishness, because of self-centeredness. You wanted what you wanted. How about that? How about that? Sometimes it just doesn't work. And it doesn't mean that the other person has to be a bad person. Yeah. Relationships break up for a variety of reasons. And sometimes because it just didn't work. It just don't work. You hold on to that old stuff and I can't contend with those things. You choose to be right there and I don't want to be right there. You have to leave a person where they are. You have to leave a person where they are. How many people hit the lottery for hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and just lose it all? Just squander every coin because they didn't prepare themselves. I was looking at my feed, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, and they were showing this $16.5 million Rolls Royce that supposedly Jay-Z owns. I don't care how much money I have. I can't see myself spending that kind of money on any car. On any car. That money can go somewhere else. Listen, and this is no shade on him. I'm just simply saying the way I'm conditioned. I can think of so much more to do with that kind of money for others. I can't even see myself spending, $1 million on the car. Just because I can afford it doesn't mean that I have to go get it. My Charger treats me just fine. My Fusion treated me just fine. If I had paper, I'd like to, probably, get something, a little more, expensive than, because, that's what I want. But I just can't see myself spending $500,000. I don't see it. And I never want to see life through that lens. If I ever come upon that kind of money, it's so much that I can do for other people. so much more. Rich in spirit is important for me. I appreciate life. And I always say, when people say, how you doing? Another day above ground. I got somewhere I plan to go after this. Yeah. That's how I function. Right? Can't take it with you. But anywho, listen. Heartfelt apologies to author Doc B again. But make sure you check out the sister show. Bring it to the table. Author Doc B, aka Felicia Burton. Right? The show is on LinkedIn. I think it's every Thursday night at 8 o'clock. Make sure you support the sister. Tune in. Thank y'all as always for tuning in. To Daddy's Right Here Live. I always say that you could be on anything else, during the time that this show is on. But here you are. Right here. Daddy's Right Here Live. I'm your host as always, Spiraline. Y'all have a great one. I'll see you next Saturday. Y'all have a good one.
Very exceptional skill, especially when it comes to getting a man. And guess what, baby? You that man. Now that I found you, baby, you're all mine.
See y'all next Saturday.
Especially the way.
Yeah, next Saturday we'll get together again. And I gotta see what's on my spirit, man.
Baby,
For the subject matter. I gotta see what happened
You locked in.
that I couldn't get our guest on today.
Forever and ever.
Hopefully she'll come on another time after I find out what's going on.
She was easy to talk to, a great sense of humor. Shared intimate stories of how men groomed and doomed her. Promised me right from the start she had a plan. Being my one and only, me being her man. On the phone for hours, every week fresh flowers. Often reminding her the world can be ours. When first we made love, after drinks and dinner, alcohol for sure had me a winner. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. I'm deep inside of her, my secrets I confide in her. Jealousy's arising her, unresolved trauma riding her. Dissonance driving her, past betrayals blinding her. Wanted me minding her, bad habits how unkind of her. Wanted me to sacrifice all of myself. Get lost in her love and nothing else. Said she'd give me a chance to win her love. My dreams, no matter, she was above. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Rhythmic quivers, satisfying sighs. Standing up in it, hear her passionate cries. Painfully pleasing, falling into the abyss. Lord, I never knew a love like this. Fall back in ecstasy, acrobatic shift. A clit in my mouth, her hips start to lift. Her juices on my chin, 2 fingers take a dip. A hand on my head, mine gripping her hip. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. The feeling's irreplaceable, indescribable at best. For her, it's all or nothing. Of me, it's all a test. Her insecurities beyond measure. Her heart I do treasure. Leaving me never waiting means clever. Exploring innate tendencies, no doubt a true connection. All mere desires, superficial affection. Somehow this turned into love, not just a chance encounter. Ass and elbows before me, wanting me to mount her. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Been married before, all who I did adore, all ended the same, be walking out the door. Sexual satisfaction, just a distraction, time to problem solve, victim reaction. Every conversation laden with accusation, quiet as kept is just her frigid adaptation. Sex is what she wants, a lover of her own. Commitment has her haunted, again she's all alone. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Representative disappears, another woman fractured. Wasted all my years, once again I'm captured. Captured, I'm captured, I'm captured, once again I'm captured, I'm captured, I'm captured, I'm captured, once again I'm captured.